Hello and welcome to the video from my last race at Donington Park in the Puma Cup. It's actually back from August in 2023, which is of course a long time ago, and it has taken me this long to sort the video out. Really sorry about that, and I'm going to do much better this year in 2024. Right, it was a horrible day. Even though it's August, you can tell from the way the wipers are going, you can see the weather. It was horrific. Now, this particular clip was from the qualifying session on the in the morning, and I wanted to show you this because it's about the most scared I've ever been in Woodstock out on track. Just come to the end of the first green flag lap, so it's time to put my foot down and get some laps in. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better, so we may as well just go for it from the start. Maybe the tyres were cold, maybe they were a little bit bold, but turn in at Hollywood and one way, then the other way, face the oncoming, back the way we came, up the hill again, down the bottom. Let's have another look at the track and let's go oncoming, and then let's face down the hill again. It felt like about 30 seconds when I was in the car, and it felt like I'd gone round about 10 times, but when you actually watch the exterior, courtesy of our friends at Cars Are Racing on YouTube, it doesn't look as dramatic from the outside, which is a little bit disappointing, but I can tell you from inside the car it was incredibly disorientating. It was really difficult to see where I was in relation to the circuit, to the other cars. Was I going to hit anything? Was anyone going to hit me? Yeah, it was pretty hairy. So needless to say, I did not have a good qualifying session. As you can see there, I was the last of the Puma Cup cars by quite a margin as well. After that first spin, I was very ginger for the rest of the session and basically had no pace at all. Very big thank you to Jamie Clare and his brother Rick. They noticed that my tyre situation was frankly dire and donated a couple of new Durettas, or well, not new but nearly new Durettas for me, which we stuck on the back of the car to help clear the water and get a bit more stability. So here we are, start of the race, 7th place, rolling start, and I don't really know what I've got under me. I don't know how much these new tyres are going to help. I don't really know where my braking points are going to be. I don't know what the cornering speeds are going to be like. It's a bit of a nightmare. So my plan was, look, it's a 40-minute race. We got 40 minutes, best part of 18, 19 laps maybe. So even though I'm last of the Pumas, don't do anything stupid. Don't go for a gap on lap 1 down at the old hairpin when there isn't really a gap there. Well done, John. Just scope things out for a couple of laps because I really don't know how Woodstock's going to behave, what the grip level's going to be like, and it's just too risky. You can see from the spray here, we've got Martin Smithson in front of us in the white car. Here's me trying to get up the inside after already promising myself don't get too racy at the beginning. I guess that's adrenaline for you. But yeah, Martin in the white car. There's various points in this video where he's actually quite difficult to see. We've all got the mandatory rain lights on, so everyone can, hopefully see the little red light that pierces through the spray. But as we come onto the straight here, look, between the sky, the spray, the circuit, the car, it's almost like he disappears into the ether, and it's only in the braking zone that he comes back into view again. So I have to keep my eyes peeled throughout this race, and I have to be mindful that, of course, we're in the Modern Classics race this weekend. Normally we are in with the tin tops, or the turbo tin tops. Now, they're always much faster than us, but the Modern Classics have got a much wider spread of pace. Their fast cars are a lot faster than their slow cars, but the way that the CSCC had to manage it this weekend to get everybody on the grid was to mix up the programs a little bit from normal, because Donington is always oversubscribed. It's one of the most popular meetings on the calendar. So I'm not overly familiar with the other cars, apart from the Pumas, of course. And, some of them qualified out of position and came flying through on lap 1. But because of this spray situation, I'm a little bit wary of, I don't know when the leaders are going to catch me. You know, is it going to be on lap 4 or 5? Is it going to be on lap 8 or 9? So I've got to keep my eyes in the mirror, because when they come flying along, their view of me is also going to be quite impaired. I know I'm not a white car like Martin's car in front. There you go, it almost disappears again just there. My car's bright yellow, as you know. Woodstock is as bright a yellow as you can get, really, which will help the leaders spot me as they come up to lap me. But at the same time, I've still got to be wary of that. I don't know the drivers, I don't know the cars, I don't know what their braking distances are like, and just losing that familiarity from the normal tin tops that we race with is just another thing to consider. Okay, now we are halfway around lap 2 at the moment. I must tell you, I've actually been promoted to 6th place, because although you didn't see a pass on circuit, unfortunately my friend Luke Johnson, he had, I think it was an engine problem, it could be gearbox, I can't honestly remember, but unfortunately he didn't make it a lap of the race. I think he pulled over before the start actually, but I wasn't aware of it until Mark told me on the radio that Luke was out of the race. Real shame for Luke, because he always goes really well here at Donington. But it has put me up to 6th place. So I'm now nearly 2 laps in. I can see Martin in the white car. The lime green car just ahead is Mark Jackson. And I know normally, full respect to these guys, but I've normally got a bit more pace on them. So I'm starting to think now, look, I was 2 or 3 seconds off in qualifying. I'm clearly not 2 or 3 seconds off now. I'm managing to hang on to them. They're not running away from me. I've got a good feel for the car now. You know, we're 2 laps in. I know where the standing water is. I know what the braking's like. And one of the great things about the Ford Puma is the responsiveness from the chassis. Whenever the car starts sliding a little bit, you can really feel it. You know, the chassis is really dialed in. The Ford Puma is famous for that, you know, for the handling feedback. So it does give me a bit more confidence now. I know where things are. I can start pushing and see about making some places. However, I'm still very much in the safety first mindset. I would rather pressure the guys in front into making a mistake than throw a lunge up the inside or something, or if they do make a mistake, try and capitalise on it. I don't really want to force anything at this stage, because in my experience wet races evolve a heck of a lot. You see that yellow Jaguar that we just passed on the left? Notice how if you go and rewind that, it just comes into view. You know, the spray clears and bang, there's a car there. And that's one of the things I'm talking about with making a daft lunge. If I go offline, there's nothing to... my line of sight to any particular obstacle just opens in an instant, and that can be quite dangerous. Of course, the marshals do a really good job with the yellow flags. Donington's also got a light system as well, which is really good when there's an incident. The yellow lights flash quite brightly. But truth be told, with this kind of spray, and when you're focusing on the car in front and making sure that the circuit's clear and safe, of course, for that matter, it can be really difficult to see the yellow flags. Really difficult, to the point where sometimes you just see something yellow. It could be a member of the crowd with a yellow umbrella or something, and you think it's a yellow flag because the clarity's just not there and you can't make things out in any particular. It's like going from Super HD to an old VHS. It's really, really difficult to see. Again, look at the spray. I mean, the wind. Oh, there goes Mark. Right, that was interesting. Mark outbraked himself. Then I think he would have stood on the brakes a bit too late, which put the car into a spin. Of course, I'm kind of judging my pace on those guys as well. So when one of them brakes a little bit late, it's almost natural for the others to brake a little bit late as well. So I missed my apex by quite a margin, but luckily I didn't go off into the gravel and spin like Mark did. So, started in 7th. Luke didn't make the race, which put me in 6th. And now Mark has gone and spun at the Melbourne Loop, so I'm now in 5th place, chasing down 4th, which is Martin in the white car. I think, who was it ahead of him in 3rd at this point? I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get a better look at that car in a bit. I can't remember who. Oh, it might have been the other Jackson car. I think that might be Neil and his son Frank who are car sharing. But I can actually see the podium now. Gareth and Jamie have scampered off into the distance. Gareth Cotgrove and Jamie Clare. My mechanic Mark is on the pit wall, sort of relaying the times to me, and yeah, Gareth and Jamie were just in a class of their own in the wet. They're both really well dialed into it, and there was no way I was matching their pace. But I can see the two cars in front of me, 4th place and 3rd place. So I'm now thinking, right, that's my goal. I need to get on the podium in this race. 7th place to the podium in a wet race is really going some. I've never been good in the wet. I've never had much of a feel for it. I am improving. My skills are getting better, but wet driving it's a bit of a different discipline. You know, the way that you slow the car down, the way that you turn the car in, the way that you put the throttle back on coming out, you know, it's a very different process to driving flat out in the dry, and it's just something I'm not used to. You know, I'd expect we get one wet race each year, so there's never really much opportunity to practice. And of course, when it does rain and I'm out on the circuit, I'm not really trying to improve my skills. I'm trying to race for a result, and they're actually two very different things. You know, if this was a test session and I was trying to improve my skills in the wet, I'd be trying different things, and a lot of them wouldn't be working, but one of them might, and then you can concentrate on that and improve it through the day. But in a 40-minute race, oh, there's the Jaguar that spun at the old hairpin a couple of laps ago. He's come back to overtake us. But yeah, in a race, you don't want to be experimenting. You don't want to be trying out new things, so you don't get the chance to improve on anything. You might have seen me just then reach for one of the buttons on the dashboard. We've got a heated windscreen in Woodstock, which is great to help with the fogging and, you know, to prevent it. But of course the timer, I don't know how long it stays on for. It might be a couple of minutes. Yeah, I press the button, the window clears up, and then gradually it starts fogging again. But I don't always notice, you know, because it's so... Oh, there's a Puma. That was Neil Jackson or Frank Jackson. I can't remember which order they started the race. Those two, father and son pairing, were sharing the driving. So they clearly lost it on the way to the hairpin, and we nipped through in Woodstock. So we're now in 4th place. We've gone from 7th to 4th. We've not actually made any legitimate overtakes yet. It's just the attrition of other cars, unfortunately, having their own little dramas. Luke with his engine or gearbox, Mark with the green car spinning at the hairpin, and just there you saw Frank spinning, or Neil spinning at the old hairpin. Now Martin's just lost a bit of time. There was a fairly decent gap between us, but as the leaders have come through, they've not cost me as much time, and when they came to overtake Martin, he had to get offline. He had to disturb his braking routines and his general pattern and rhythm, and that's allowed me to close up by 3 or 4 car lengths. So I'm now at the point where I've got enough feeling in the car, I know what I've got underneath me, I can start going for it. So I show my nose down at the Melbourne hairpin. Yeah, I went a little bit too deep there, didn't I? Unfortunately I went a bit straight on, so Martin was then able to get the undercut. But what I've now demonstrated is that I'm better out of the chicane. I could be better on the brakes into the hairpin, so I need to use that knowledge that I've now found out and use it to my advantage later on. Now this white Puma that's just overtaken us, don't be fooled, that's not a Puma Cup car. That was in the, I don't know what class it was, Class D of the modern classics. So although it looks very similar to ours, it's running in a different series, in a different class, and it has got a very different specification underneath it. For example, they've got full rain tyres in that class. It's probably, and I really don't know, I'm speculating here, look at that, the visibility is just gone. That's what happens when you follow a car with full rain tyres. They throw up so much more spray than the Directors that we run in the Puma Cup. But yeah, that Puma's probably got the Ford Racing Puma cams, so it's going to have extra power. It will be a lot lighter than Woodstock. More than likely got the limited slip diff as well, which is a huge advantage in the wet weather because it allows you to get much better acceleration out of the corners. So I'm not racing that white Puma, and unfortunately through that little bit of traffic coming past us, Martin's managed to pull out a bit of a gap again. But you know what, persevere, because it swings and roundabouts. And now look here, we've got 4 cars 2x2 in front of me. Martin is the one directly in front on the left, but he's just disappeared in the spray. Where is it? There he is, over on the left hand side. I don't really, or have they swapped over? It's so difficult to tell. You know what, John, who cares? Just keep it steady, wait for the spray to drop down, and then whoop, there goes another one. I think, oh hang on, was that the Class D car, or was that Mr. Jackson who'd come through again? Can't honestly remember, but it gave me a good run on Martin here. Now he's gone defensive, so I'm going to try and get the nose whipped in and see if I can out-drag him out of this corner up to the hairpin at Goddard. Now I did get a better exit. I'm closing, go for the inside, but it's dangerous up here because the braking zone is downhill, and then when you turn in, the car's off camber. Bump, I hit him, I'm sorry. That was entirely my fault. I didn't do anything hugely wrong. I went for a gap up the inside, and there was a gap there. I just didn't quite get slowed down in time. I maybe braked 1-2 metres too late, and I had to go on the inside at Redgate, but then this Porsche comes through and causes a bit of drama. But no, I think, there we go, we've made the pass. Now, I feel a bit guilty because I've just tapped Martin into losing his momentum, which gave me the opportunity to pass him down the start line. However, I went and spoke to Martin after the race and apologised for that. Luckily, there was no damage to either car, and Martin, bless him, didn't know that I'd hit him. He just thought that the car snapped with oversteer as he was going round the corner. He said he braked a little bit late, knowing I was there, and he thought he went in a little bit too fast and the car just broke away. I think that's brilliant. Martin, I hit you. I hit your rear quarter and put you into a half spin, and the fact that you didn't even register you'd been hit is just brilliant. And it shows the sort of good blood in the Puma Cup. Even if he did know that I knocked him, he will know that it wouldn't have been on purpose. Of course, it never would be. People in the Puma Cup have always raced clean and fair. I've had a few hairy moments where things have got a bit close for comfort, but that was just aggressive but fair racing. I've never known anybody sort of do anything on the deliberate side or sort of borderline dangerous. It just doesn't happen. So, in summary, I'm now sat in 3rd place. I've gone from 7th to 3rd. How many minutes in are we? We're about 15 minutes into the race, so we're approaching half distance, and I've got my podium spot. I'm really pleased with this. But Frank and Neil Jackson are behind me because they had a couple of spins, but I know they're quicker. I can't see them in the mirror because of all the spray. So I've got Mark on the pit wall who's telling me the gap to the Jacksons to let me know whether they're any threat to my podium place. I have to admit, I feel like I've inherited this podium so far because everyone else was spinning and having dramas and stuff. But you know what? That's kind of the deal in motorsports. You know, if you are the one that keeps it on the island, then you're allowed to reap the rewards guilt-free. And that's kind of my driving style in general, to be honest. I've always been one of those guys who thinks, go half a second slower every lap and you will lose 10 seconds on the road. But by doing that, you avoid having a single spin, and a single spin can cost you 30 seconds. So I'm very much in the play it safe camp. Partly because you tend to get better results that way. And secondly, because I can't be affording for repairs, I don't want to be sticking my car into the tyre wall or the Armco, or God forbid hitting another competitor. I just don't have the budget to do that, and even if I did have the budget, it's such a pain in the backside having to repair race cars. I'd much rather finish a race, park it up on the trailer, take it home, roll Wooders into the garage and leave him be till next time. That's the perfect situation, and that's how I tend to go about my racing. So we are approaching halfway through. I can't remember when I make my pit stop, but based on the fact there's nothing happening in front of me, we've got the Jacksons bearing down in 4th place and catching me, but nothing happens in that department for a little while. So we will speed things up, and to the next point of interest, please, director, go. I say next point of interest, it was a lap and a half. Yeah, we're about to come into the pits. Now, a quick refresher for those of you not familiar with the Puma Cup. Every single car has to make a mandatory pit stop between 15 minutes and 30 minutes of race duration. The reason for that is that some people share the car. The Jackson father and son team in the white car, for example. So it's to stop anybody else having an advantage and to stop anybody from having a disadvantage should they do a driver swap. Now, sometimes I share the car with Mark. There he is on the right, and we'd have to get out, do the swap, sort the harnesses out, all that kind of thing. But because we're not doing a swap and it's just me this time, I have a minimum amount of time that I have to serve in the pits, and it starts when I cross the pit speed limit line. That's when I hit the timer on my dashboard. You'll see the two little timer things on the blue background. The one on the right is the kitchen timer, so I just have to sit stationary. I'm actually telling Mark about the little hit with Martin a couple of laps ago. He checked the car anyway, and just, yeah, there's no damage or anything on the front right, no bodywork rubbing against the tyre or anything like that. So I just keep my eye on that timer. It takes, I think it's about 12 seconds to get to the pit lane exit from here. So when my timer reads 1 minute 18 seconds, that's when I need to go. I could be making those numbers up because it's from memory, but we're about good to go. We're all clear. Mark waves me out. There's Barry giving me the I think it was Barry giving me the thumbs up. And I just have to amble down the pit lane and make sure that I do not cross that exit line before 90 seconds. Otherwise I will get a hefty, very hefty penalty. There's the line. I don't remember the timing, but we're normally within a second. We're pretty good at that. We've only ever had one pit lane penalty, and that was because I did the sums wrong in my head. But the system we've got works really well, and it did again today. I think we were 91.3 seconds, I think it was, so we lost very little in our pit stop phase. I've had a bit of a breather. I've managed to, slow down my heart rate a little bit. And look at this, we've come out to a clear track. So no excuses. Get the foot down, John. This is the time. There's no leaders coming to overtake you. You're all on your own. Just do your own thing. Hit your braking points. Be, what's the word? Metronomic, that's the word I was looking at. I should know that, being a drummer. Metronomic, bit robot style, do this, do that, take all the variables out of the equation, and see the lap time just come towards you. It's difficult though to an extent because you don't know if the circuit is actually drying up or does it just look drier because there's no other cars kicking up spray. A bit of a mind trick going on. The only way to judge it is just to brake a little bit later and see if you get away with it, which I do down here, and yeah, I got away with it, so okay. There is a fair bit of standing water through that chicane, but generally speaking, I think things are improving. So yeah, head down, keep pushing, and see what happens. I'm in 3rd place. 4th place is looking ever more distant behind me, so I'm thinking just roll it round, John, take the podium. The guys in front are A, too far away, and B, going too quickly. To match their pace would have just been irresponsible, because there's no way I could go a couple of seconds a lap faster like they were doing and not make mistakes and potentially have an accident. So in the similar style to before the pit stop, we will go warp speed until the next point of interest. See you in a second. Okay, we brought it back to normal speed here. We're on the start line coming into Redgate. That's, I think, a Porsche Boxster ahead of us, the red car, one of the leaders that overtook us. And I wanted to draw your attention to something here. Can you see the yellow flag on the left? There it is. And over on the right, there's another one in a minute, just directly ahead of us there. That's one of the lights flashing. But still no real idea why. And then I spot it just there on the left hand side. You'll have to forgive me, I can't remember if that was the Jackson car, the Smithson car, or I don't know which one it was, I'm afraid. But it doesn't change anything from my point of view, because I know it wasn't Gareth or Jamie. So I'm still in 3rd place and I'm still doing my thing, just rolling around nice and steady. But what can you not account for? You can't account for other drivers, and you've just like driving on the road, I guess. So have a look what happens here. See that car on the right hand side? It's an old V8 Lotus Esprit, and he just pulls straight back on into the racing line. Now, I've shown this clip to a few people, and there's mixed opinion. My opinion is that yes, it was difficult for him to see when he was rejoining, but he should have stayed over to the right hand side. Stay off the racing line when you're rejoining. You know, if I'd have been a faster car, I would have had to properly get on the brakes to avoid him then. And if I'd have been a faster car, I'd have been harder for him to see. So not the excuse, but regardless, whether it was a slower car or a faster car, makes no difference. He came onto the circuit and just went straight over to the racing line before braking for the corner at McLean's. Now, my opinion is that that was dangerous and it shouldn't have happened. I didn't go and speak to him afterwards because it's the modern classics and I don't want to make an enemy in the paddock for no reason. And I'm sure he didn't mean it. I'm sure there's nothing malicious. He could be a relatively new driver. I don't know if he got a novice cross or what, but you know, we all make mistakes, and you know, I've made plenty and people have given me plenty of leeway, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and get all angry at him and go and seek him out in the paddock and blah blah blah. You know, no harm no foul is pretty much the order of the day, but I hope he does watch this and is just a little bit mindful for next time in case it happens again. But we're getting towards the end of the race now. The yellow flags are still out down the old hairpin. Did you see the lights flashing just there? Yeah, I saw the lights and the flag, but I've no idea what the incident was. I couldn't see anything on the right. There's nobody in the gravel at the old hairpin, so whoever it is has spun, and actually that was a green flag flashing at the old hairpin. So yeah, we're good to go again. Whatever the incident was, it's been cleared. The affected driver is on their way, so we can put our foot down again and crack on for a little longer. Now then, do you remember earlier in the race we had the white Puma which wasn't part of the Puma Cup? Well, there's another Puma that's not part of the Puma Cup. It's this one just in front on the right hand side, a yellow Puma. We're not in the direct race against each other because he's running in a different series in a different class. You can tell that from the drilling that's been done on the rear splitter, all those little holes to get some weight out of the car. But this is the first time Woodstock has been on track with another yellow Puma. And yeah, we're coming round to, I don't know if we're coming to lap this car, if it's position or what, but we've got the Jaguar there making a bit of a nuisance as he comes through. I say that in a friendly, sarcastic way, of course. But yeah, another yellow Puma. I don't know what the spec is. It will be a faster setup than Woodstock though, because Puma Cup is as standard as you can get. The guy's got a novice cross on the back, you might have spotted that, so he's clearly a beginner. So fair play, still learning his way around the track and whatnot, but it was a really cool feeling to be the faster of the two yellow Pumas, given what happened in the morning in qualifying and how far off the pace had been, all that kind of stuff. And of course the fact that his car is in a higher spec than mine, but we still managed to have pace on him, really just goes to show what the Puma Cup's about. The standard spec doesn't necessarily mean slow. It's all swings and roundabouts, but we're grossly underpowered compared to most of the other cars we race against. But we've got brilliant handling, we are fantastic on the brakes, and we can make a lot of lap time up that way. The net result, of course, is that yeah, we were just a bit quicker than that other Puma, which theoretically should be faster than us. So where are we now then? We are a good half an hour into the race. There's not many laps left to go and the track is drying up. I'm still in third place. I'm happy with my third place. I'm not chasing Gareth and Jamie because they're so far up the road it's just unrealistic to think I could get anywhere near them. So yeah, just keep head down and keep rolling and see what happens, John. Okay, so we got 2 laps to go. It's been a race of attrition. We've managed to get all the way up to third place and only made one legitimate pass on the circuit against Martin, if you remember, when I tapped his rear quarter. But what's happened here? We've got yellow flags and there's a blue Puma in the gravel on the left. That was Gareth Cotgrove. He'd been almost wheel to wheel with Jamie for the entire race, and unfortunately with 2 laps to go he ended up in the gravel and I overtook him for second place. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he lost it on his own, if he was trying to make an overtake, maybe he was ahead and Jamie had a lunge, maybe if Jamie or Gareth or somebody that knows is watching they could tell me, because I'd got no idea. I really feel for Gareth though. Gareth's one of the nicest guys in the paddock. He's always smiling. He can have really bad luck sometimes and he's really philosophical about it, and I try to be like that as well. So kindred spirits in that regard. You'll remember at Anglesey in the 24 hours Gareth lost a wheel in the first race, so he'd then got a further 4 races in the 24-hour period where he knew he'd got next to no chance of coming back and getting a result, but he persevered and he treated it like tret it, what's the past tense of treat, I don't know, but anyway, he just got on with it with a smile on his face and enjoyed the rest of his weekend's racing. But that guy is due a win. I don't think he's got a win in the Puma Cup yet. He's certainly quick enough. He's put it on pole a few times. He's led plenty of races, but for one reason or another, he's not managed to bring it home in first place, to my knowledge, unless he has nicked a win at one of the rounds I've not been attending. I didn't go to Mallory last year. I didn't go to Brands Hatch either. So maybe he did the business at one of those rounds. I'm not 100% sure. But here we are, starting the last lap. Mark on the radio has already told me that this is the last lap, and of course I know that I'm in second place. Jamie is not far off a lap ahead, to be honest. He was a second to 2 seconds faster pretty much every single lap. Sometimes a little bit more actually, sometimes 2.5, 3 seconds. And I think, if memory serves correctly, he finished about 50 seconds ahead on the road. And when we're doing nearly it was about a 2-minute lap, wasn't it? So about half a lap. In fact, when I'm down here at the old hairpin now, Jamie is probably crossing the line to finish the race about now. That's how far behind I actually was. But you know what? I didn't care. from qualifying in the morning, having that horrible triple spin, double corkscrew, pike with tuck, whatever you call it, to finish this race in second felt, and I know it's cheesy, I'm not going to say it, I nearly did, but I'm not going to. It still felt fantastic, because that evolution of being scared of the car and what was happening, the unpredictability, not knowing what flick on the steering wheel is going to do, to the camaraderie of the paddock, Rick and Jamie helping me out with the tyres, my mechanic Mark, my friend Mark keeping my head straight, Mike as well for his help getting the car ready, just checking over things, making sure that everything was okay, and then getting out in the race without knowing what's underneath me. What kind of car have I got? How fast can I go? How can I brake? Blah blah blah. Figuring all that out, dealing with cars that were not familiar in the modern classics grid rather than the tin tops we normally race with, so on and so forth. There was an awful lot of variables in this race, so to bring it from 7th to round the last corner on the Donington Grand Prix circuit and accelerate up to the finish line with the checkered flag flying. I don't know if you can see the checkered flag. Where is it? It's there somewhere. But anyway, yeah, we've done it. Congratulations to Jamie. He absolutely dominated this one. Great result for Martin to get on the podium. I think that might have been his first podium. And Mark Jackson, again, 4th place out of 7. Fair play, Mark. Kept it on the island for the most part and got the result that you deserve. Maybe a trophy for you next time, Mr. J. So that was that. That was actually my final Puma Cup round of the season, because I skipped a couple of rounds, and then in the final one at Croft, we had Ben Pemberton in the car as a guest driver for Team Guroba. So that was it for the Puma Cup. That was it, done and dusted, 24 out. Thanks very much for watching. There's some other stuff to click and play with, but 2024 is just around the corner. First race of the season, March 24th. Hope you can join us at Donington for that. Otherwise, keep your eyes peeled for the video, which will be following in the few days after the race. Bye, everyone.